Give me 2 seconds. Story 7 has the detail that makes the whole situation feel staged. These viral Reddit stories start normal, then one tiny choice turns them into a problem nobody agrees on. Story 1 starts with the kind of moment most people would ignore. This sounds simple at first, until you hear what actually happened. My job told us they would pay more if an employee became bilingual. Felly, this guy's Jimreg. I had a job that had a standing policy that if you could speak at least 2 languages, you got a 10% raise. I've always been a natural at languages, but I don't speak any of them fluently. Usually just enough to get into trouble. At a previous job, I was disciplined for telling a supervisor that only ever addressed me in Spanish to please speak English. In German. She wrote me up for speaking a language that she didn't understand, and was completely oblivious to the irony. But I got a job I liked and saw that pay incentive because we only had so many bilingual employees in a job that frequently requires you to go to job sites where English is not spoken. Well, I wanted to learn the language of my ancestors, so I picked up a Welsh class online, and while I didn't become fluent, I spoke enough to carry on a rudimentary conversation. Which would be great if anybody here actually spoke Welsh. But I then went to HR to see if I qualified for the pay raise. You had to go talk to someone in management, and they would test your proficiency. I proceeded to tell them in Welsh that I could speak it, and that my family came from Wales in 1745. The manager then told me that the policy meant Spanish. But as the policy didn't specify Spanish and just said bilingual, they honored the policy, gave me my raise, and then changed the policy immediately after that. I haven't ever had to use Welsh at work, but they have had me translate for new hires who couldn't understand some of our clients who speak with very accented Cajun and Scottish accents. HWYL. I still do not know what I would have done differently, and that is why this story stuck with me. That is the moment where most people would pretend nothing was wrong. Story 2. This one feels normal for about 10 seconds, and then it turns. This sounds simple at first, until you hear what actually happened. I might be wrong for not wanting our friend to ever come back to our house after he ate literally everything we owned. My husband and I live abroad. Earlier this year, a mutual acquaintance, let's call him K, reached out saying he'd been scammed with an apartment rental and had nowhere to stay. At first, we only offered a weekend, but he was polite, helped around the house, and seemed grateful, so we ended up letting him stay the full 20 days he'd asked for. During that time, some things rubbed us the wrong way. He never bought groceries, and multiple times he pretended he was going to pay but forgot his wallet, or claimed he could only use Apple Pay, not accepted at our local supermarket. He'd eat way more than his share. Once my husband and I shared half a pizza and he ate the other pizza and a half without contributing. Still, we felt bad for him, so we let it go. We stayed friendly, and a few months later we were planning a 17-day trip. Since he was struggling with rent, we offered him to stay at our place in exchange for taking care of our dog. I even wrote a Google Doc with instructions for the house, dog care, gym access, etc. I told him he could eat anything that was going to expire, fruit, veggies, yogurt, etc. When we came back, everything was gone. And I mean everything. The entire fridge, freezer, pantry. He finished 2 jars of jam, a jar of peanut butter, a giant Costco bottle of olive oil, condiments, rice, snacks, cheese, even my husband's supplements, creatine, protein, collagen. He completely destroyed a ceramic pan. He consumed things that usually last us 6 months in just 2 weeks. I honestly suspect he might have taken stuff with him because it's insane how much was missing. I didn't confront him except to ask him to replace the pan, which he mocked me about. It's just a pan, why are you making it a big deal? I felt deeply disrespected. Now he keeps texting me, acting like nothing happened, and wants to hang out. I told my husband I don't want him in our home ever again. So am I wrong for sticking with my decision, or are people judging this too fast? And this is exactly why the comments could not agree on what they would have done. Story 3. This one feels normal for about 10 seconds, and then it turns. I thought I knew who was wrong here, but the details changed everything. Do you have a but? Read this. Every year, thousands of young people hear the words, "You have colorectal cancer," cancer of the colon or rectum, parts of your digestive system. It's terrifying. Colorectal cancer is the deadliest cancer in men under 50 and second in young women. But we'd be the assholes if we didn't tell you the truth. It doesn't have to be this way. Colorectal cancer, or CRC, is one of the most preventable cancers with screening and highly treatable if caught early. So why is it upending the lives of so many young people? In a word, stigma. Nobody likes talking about bowel habits, rectal bleeding, or colonoscopies. So, the conversation doesn't happen. Too many people don't know the symptoms. Too many symptoms get dismissed by healthcare providers. And too many diagnoses come late. Advanced colorectal cancer has a survival rate of just 13%. Science still hasn't broken the code to cure every case of colorectal cancer. That's why awareness, better screening access, and providers taking symptoms seriously are just as important as knowing the signs yourself. Here's what you need to know. CRC rates in under 50s are rising. Many are diagnosed in their 20s to 40s, often after misdiagnosis. A close family member with CRC doubles your risk. Lynch syndrome or FAP equals even higher risk. Screening saves lives, and most people have testing options, including at-home tests. So why are we talking about this? r/am is approaching 25 million members. To celebrate, we, the mods, have partnered with the Colorectal Cancer Alliance, a national nonprofit leading the mission to end this disease. Here's how you can help. 1. Learn the symptoms. Bleeding, persistent changes in bowel habits, unexplained weight loss, abdominal pain. Don't ignore them. Advocate for yourself. 2. Get checked starting at 45. If you're average risk, you should start getting checked for CRC at age 45. Some people need to get checked earlier. The Alliance's screening quiz can provide you with a recommendation. 3. Support the mission. Your donation funds prevention programs, patient support, and research to end colorectal cancer. Even a small gift could help someone get checked and survive. I know how it looks from the outside, but I still think there is more to it. Who is wrong here? That is the moment where most people would pretend nothing was wrong. Story 4. This one feels normal for about 10 seconds, and then it turns. This sounds simple at first, until you hear what actually happened. My coworker kept stealing my pens, so I swapped them out. I used to leave a few pens on my desk, but they always seemed to vanish. At first, I thought maybe I was just being careless, but then I noticed one of my coworkers always had the exact same pens I bought. Instead of calling him out, I decided to make things a little interesting. I bought a pack of disappearing ink pens and left them in the usual spot. Sure enough, he borrowed one right before a meeting and started taking notes. About halfway through, his notes began fading until the page looked blank. He stared at it in total confusion, while everyone else kept writing. I had to keep a straight face, but inside I was dying of laughter. Needless to say, he never touched my pens again after that little incident, and my desk supplies have been safe ever since. I still do not know what I would have done differently, and that is why this story stuck with me. The scary part is how ordinary the first warning sign felt. Story 5. This one feels normal for about 10 seconds, and then it turns. I thought I knew who was wrong here, but the details changed everything. My neighbor said my grill belongs to the community.